Your life, your world, your news. This is 69 News Weekend Edition, live at 10.
Good evening. Just days after the city of Hazleton agrees to delay enforcing a law that targets illegal immigrants, hundreds gather to speak out against it.
The prayer vigil was held near Hazleton City Hall this afternoon. WFMZ's Brittany Westbrook joins us here live with more. Brittany.
Well, John and Karen, Hazleton's Illegal Immigration Relief Act was scheduled to go into effect September 13th, but after lawsuits were filed, the city has agreed to delay the enforcement and make some changes. Some call it a temporary victory, but opponents of the ordinance say it should be done away with altogether. About 300 people carried that message today. It was, for the most part, a peaceful gathering. People from Allentown, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. in Hazleton to show their opposition to the city's Illegal Immigration Relief Act and support for Hazleton's Latino residents.
We're here basically just to make sure that these type of initiatives don't start to spread throughout, the nation.
The ordinance targets employers who hire and landlords who rent to undocumented immigrants. But some who live in Hazleton say because of it, legal immigrants have suffered.
I don't think that legal citizens should be harassed or racially profiled or asked to register themselves.
I am very pleased to see that everything is quiet and peaceful, not completely different to the Riverside situation.
Reverend Miguel Rivera came from Washington, D.C., representing the National Coalition of Latino Clergy and Christian Leaders.
This type of strategies are being put in place by members of different city councils. It's not bringing any benefit, any prosperity to the country. It's going to divide us, create more animosity.
At one point, the peaceful gathering was interrupted by that so-called animosity as ordinance supporters and opponents, divided only by this brick wall, exchanged words.
12 years in the United States Army. I spent it serving for this country, willing to die for this country. And somebody like him, look what he does.
I'm not racist or prejudiced or anything. It's just that everybody's an immigrant, and if you're illegal, you shouldn't be here.
One side of an ongoing local argument that many say should be settled only in the federal arena.
That we will hear that Congress will take action and a comprehensive Immigration Reform Act will be passed as soon as possible.
Now, the city says it delayed enforcement only because it's working on a replacement ordinance that it believes will stand up better in court. Karen?
Brittany, thank you. It was politics as usual on this morning's Meet the Press. The first televised debate of incumbent Senator Rick Santorum and his Democratic challenger, Bob Casey. The Pennsylvania race is one of the most closely watched, and first up this morning, the two went head-to-head on the war in Iraq. Casey called for a new leadership and a new plan. Santorum called it complex and a fight not against Iraq, but Islamic fascism.
But even as you're debating whether or not we call Osama bin Laden a terrorist or a fascist, I don't think that really matters. We need a plan. You're in the Senate. You have votes. You should be leading that effort. And I think after it's over, after you get the terminology right, maybe you can have a seminar in Washington about whether bin Laden, whom we should be finding and killing, whether he's a dead terrorist or a dead fascist.
In a sometimes testy exchange, Santorum and Casey also sparred on how to fix the budget and whether or not the morning after pill should be sold over the counter. Then the issues got local, like the Pennsylvania pay raise.
5 months afterwards, after the November election, after the people of Pennsylvania said, we don't like this pay raise, Bob Casey comes out and files a legal brief saying that what he did was unconstitutional. That's not courage. That's political pandering. That's not someone who's going to come to Washington and fight for Pennsylvania. That's someone who plays games with his old buddies, and when the going got tough, he was nowhere to be seen.
You got here
Casey is leading Santorum in the most recent polls, but in the last few weeks, his lead has slipped to single digits.
Hundreds of Pittsburgh residents are paying respect to their late mayor. Mayor Bob O'Connor's body is lying in state in the city-county building. The flag-draped coffin will remain there until 10 tomorrow night. The funeral is scheduled for Thursday. O'Connor died Friday from brain cancer. He was 61 years old.
On the campaign trail, Pennsylvania Governor hopeful Lynn Swann swung by the Republican booth at the Great Allentown Fair. Swann was greeted by cheers from supporters and made a short speech atop a stump. In the crowd, fellow Republican Congressman Charlie Dent. Since Swann was at the fair, he spoke about his business model for agriculture.
Agriculture will benefit from my business platform in terms of reduction of business taxes, and the phase out of the inheritance tax will help family farms.
Swan pointed out he's been to every county in the Commonwealth during his campaign. He faces incumbent Governor Ed Rendell, who is a Democrat.
And it certainly was a much better day to stop by the fair. We've had days of rain, but finally saw a little sunshine today.
Absolutely. The question is, will we be just as lucky tomorrow? It is a holiday. Meteorologist Mark Shanaberger is in the Weather Center with the details. Mark.
Well, it actually looks like our Labor Day is going to be the nicest day of our holiday weekend. Just in time, that nice weather moving in just in time for our Labor Day holiday and any outdoor activities that you do have planned. Some dry air moving in, Ernesto moving out. You can see that a little bit better on our satellite and radar loop as we show you there. There is the remnants of Ernesto continuing to track off to the north. There is some drier air moving back behind it. It looks like we will deal with a good amount of sunshine for our Labor Day. High temperatures topping out in the upper 70s, so some nice conditions out there for our Monday. You can see there's Ernesto once again. We're going to see two systems collide in the mid part of the work week, and that's going to bring some showers and thunderstorms possibly to our area, possibly causing some flash flooding. A completely different change in the start of August and the start of September, where we're dealing with rain. It was a dry August, and it looks like we're going to deal with the wet weather again in the mid part of the work week. As we move into the second half of the work week, it does look like some nicer weather, but the highlight or low light, as it might be for Tuesday, is some showers and thunderstorms. We'll have all the details on our extended forecast coming up in a couple of minutes. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Mark. At least one death in the area is being blamed on Ernesto. Officials say 45-year-old Thomas Chipley was killed yesterday near his home in Montgomery County. Police say he and his wife were walking their dog in Telford when the dog got caught up in rushing water in a drainage ditch. Chipley went in after his dog and also got caught in the drainage pipe and drowned. The dog survived. Ernesto has moved through our area and the Northeast, but the storm is still causing problems. Tens of thousands are still without power in parts of the country. Officials in Connecticut say about 44,000 homes and businesses in the state are without power today. They say it could be days until all power is restored. Tens of thousands are in the dark in the suburbs of New York City. There are also thousands without power in New Jersey, Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Delaware. In Pennsylvania, officials with PECO said today they were working to get the last few thousand customers back online.
From Ernesto to John, which has now weakened to a tropical depression. Earlier, it pounded Mexico on the country's Baja California peninsula. Mexican President Vicente Fox toured the region to take a look at the damage. The storm is supposed to head out to sea later this week, well south of Tijuana, but it is still expected to bring heavy rain to Southern California and Arizona.
A senior member of al-Qaeda in Iraq says he's responsible for more attacks than he can remember. Officials in Iraq said today they arrested Hamid al-Saidi several days ago. U.S. officials say he claims to have been involved in the insurgency in Iraq almost from the beginning. Iraq's national security advisor says al-Saidi was the second in command of al-Qaeda in Iraq. And with this arrest, the terror group is now suffering from a serious leadership crisis.
NATO says more than 200 pro-Taliban militants have been killed in the first 2 days of Operation Medusa in southern Afghanistan. 4 Canadian soldiers were also killed in the battle. Warplanes have been dropping bombs on suspected Taliban fighters hiding out in orchards. A NATO spokesman says NATO and Afghan forces have gained ground in the region. Afghanistan's defense minister says the number of Taliban casualties is high, but he cannot confirm the NATO report.
Pennsylvania is changing the way it handles the child abuse cases. The state has adopted its first uniform rules to govern juvenile dependency proceedings. Under the old rules, there were radically inconsistent approaches from county to county. Under the new rules, there will be minimum requirements for recording proceedings, and there are rules to give all parties the documents and other information they need for a fair hearing. Also, there are specific deadlines to resolve cases. That's designed to prevent children from getting stuck in foster care limbo for months. The new rules will take effect in February.
Instead of picking up the paper, more and more people are clicking on the computer, forcing a fixture in Lansdale to close up shop. Today was the last day of business for the Lansdale News Agency on Main Street. The owner of the newsstand says business just isn't as profitable in this technology age. She says she'll miss the customers the most.
Thank you. You get to meet people, you see them every day. So not only do you get to know your customers, but you also get to know their families. And I've seen their children grow up, and now I'm meeting their grandchildren.
Lansdale News Agency first opened in 1928.
Fire burns through an apartment building in Chicago, leaving 6 children dead. Coming up on 69 News Weekend Edition, investigators say the family may have made a tragic mistake.
And some health officials say obesity is as big a threat as global warming and bird flu. We'll explain when we come back.
Watching WFMZ TV 69 News Weekend Edition with John Derr, Karin Mallett, Dave Lesko with sports and meteorologist Mark Shanaberger with the exclusive AccuWeather forecast.
To be or not to be, that was the question this weekend for a new event in Allentown. The first annual Shakespeare in the Park was rained out yesterday, but the weather was much better today, so the show was a go. Performances of Romeo and Juliet were held this afternoon and tonight at Union Terrace Park and Union and Elmo Streets.
In Penn Argyl, it was far from the first. Try the 71st annual Labor Day Parade and Carnival way back in 1933. The Lookout Fire Company #1, the Park Improvement League, and the Penn Argyl Band sponsored the first event at Weona Park. 2 years later, the fire company alone took it over, and it's been a tradition ever since. And in about 45 minutes, they'll end the night with a bang. Fireworks are set for 11 o'clock.
And it should be a good night for those fireworks.
Yeah.
Thank goodness they weren't yesterday or the other night. Yep.
Absolutely. It should be nice.
Yeah, we'll see about the holiday tomorrow.
Hopefully.
Mark?
Yeah, actually, our Labor Day looks like it's going to be the nicest day in our holiday weekend. Current conditions right now, 62 degrees, the dew point at 54, and we're seeing that wind out of the west. That's helping to drop those dew points. We'll get to that in a second. As far as the rest of the region, temperature-wise, Stroudsburg at 59 degrees, Reading also at 59 degrees right now. And we talked about those winds out of the west. That's helping to drop the dew points a little bit, but you can see the wind's not all that strong out there. So a nice little breeze out there through the evening hours and through the overnight hours tonight. Dew points down in the mid-50s, so very comfortable conditions out there for our Sunday evening. As far as Ernesto goes, you can still see it spinning just north of the Great Lakes region, still bringing some showers to upstate New York. We're actually going to see the next two systems collide over the middle Atlantic states, and you can see one spinning out in the Midwest, and there's one yet to develop. You can see it kind of developing right down here in the southeastern portion of the United States. They're both going to collide over us, it looks like, for the middle part of the work week. But before that, our Labor Day holiday, you can see no rain in sight, really. Just in upstate New York, northern Pennsylvania, dealing with some shower activity there. But for us, tomorrow looks like a gorgeous day out there weather-wise. Like I said, two systems kind of moving in for the mid part of the work week, and that's going to bring some rain to our area, one from the Midwest and one from the southeast moving up the coast. You can see that a little bit better on our surface map. Like I said before that, there is a dome of high pressure that'll move in here for our Monday, and that'll give us some nice conditions for outdoor activities on Labor Day. But here comes that next low pressure system. That'll move in here as we make our way into the afternoon and evening hours on Tuesday. It'll stick around for Wednesday. Then this system will kick them both out of here. It looks like the second half of the work week is looking all right now. We're going to deal with some warmer conditions, the slight chance of seeing a shower as we make our way into the afternoon and evening hours on Friday. I think a little bit better chance for Saturday as we see our next cold front dip down from Canada, move into the region. So it looks like a little bit better chance in the afternoon and evening hours on Saturday of seeing some shower activity. But either way, a pretty decent day for Thursday and a pretty decent day for Friday as well. The next 24 hours shape up like this. For tonight, partly cloudy to mostly cloudy. Looks like an overnight low of around 56 degrees. Then for tomorrow, pleasant with times of clouds and some sunshine, high temperature of 78 degrees, overnight low of 56. Probably the nicest day in our Labor Day weekend is going to be our Labor Day, so very appropriate. A lot of people putting off their plans until Labor Day, so it looks like that's going to shape out pretty nicely. Some showers, thunderstorms possible for Tuesday and Wednesday, and it looks like that'll clear out of here for Thursday. You can see those warmer conditions for the end of the work week. But like I said, the nicest day in our Labor Day holiday weekend is going to be Labor Day itself, so anybody that has outdoor activities, looks like you're going to get them in with no problems.
Break out the barbecue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a lot of people are smiling just to see a little sunshine today. So
yeah, really.
They'll really be happy tomorrow.
Something that I had to kind of dust off today was the sunglasses.
Okay.
Haven't used them in a while, but you're going to need them for tomorrow.
Great. Thanks a lot, Mark.